babies, wandering babies. What's a babe to do? Babies, up all night with babies, crawling, falling babies, crying right on cue. What's a babe to do? Babies, bringing up my babies, sleeping, peeping babies, with your baby blue. Babies, up all night with babies, crawling, falling babies, crying right on cue.
Good evening. I am your host for tonight. We want to welcome you to Night for Newborns. I'm Samantha Russell. We are celebrating Nurses for Newborns 20th anniversary right here in Tennessee. So thank you for joining us tonight. If you've joined us in the past, or hey, maybe this is your first time participating in Night for Newborns, we want you to know that your safety and health is of our utmost priority. So of course, due to this past year and the continued COVID-19 pandemic, Nurses for Newborns felt it was safest for this event to be virtual again this year, just like last year, but we are hopeful and confident we will be together in person again next year. So hopefully some good news there. Now, as we're all catching our breath from a very long and stressful, hard year, please know there is still a huge and critical need to raise money tonight for such a great organization. Of course, we're talking about Nurses for Newborns. So there is still a lot of work to be done. We have a great and entertaining show planned for you tonight. We're going to hear from Nurses of Newborns of Tennessee staff and actually 3 families locally that have been impacted by Nurses for Newborns and its work. We'll also be celebrating individuals who helped Nurses for Newborns reach its 20th anniversary. That is a huge deal. And of course, as always, we'll have special performances by Holly Williams and Zach Ray. So a lot to get through. We also going to talk about the future of Nurses for Newborns and how you can be a part of that. Now, before we get started, a few announcements. Of course, we have our silent auction that is open until 10 o'clock Central Standard Time tonight. So make sure you check out those auctions. You do need to register to participate, but you can do that by clicking on the auction right at the top right of your screen there. There's a drop-down menu to where you can go and register and look at all those items. Winners will be notified by text once the auction ends, and items will be available for pickup starting Monday, which is April 19th, or it can even be mailed to you if we make those arrangements. So bid high, bid often. There are some really neat items. We're talking 10-year-old bourbon, some designer sunglasses, weekend getaways, and those proceeds are going to go directly to services provided by Nurses for Newborns. So make sure you go to the top right of your screen. There's a drop-down menu, register, and get going on those auctions. Now, tickets are $50 and the winning prize, a $2,500 Disney gift card. Now, these gift cards are good for practically all things Disney, whatever you can think of. So theme park tickets, resort stays, merchandise, dining, and so much more at Disney locations throughout the United States, Canada, and Puerto Rico. So a lot that you can get there. Now, better yet, they never expire. So you will want to get a raffle ticket, again, $50 before those are gone. So a lot of exciting things you can look for. But the biggest thing and the biggest reason we're here tonight, of course, to raise funds for Nurses for Newborns. So that is our biggest goal. You can donate anytime online. And again, the website here, Night for Newborns, and you can go to the event website, or you can even text Celebrate 20 to 44321 to make a donation. Let's get started by introducing Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee's Executive Director, Amanda Peltz-Dennison. Amanda?
Hello. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm Amanda Peltz-Dennison, the Executive Director of Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee. If there was ever a year I wish we could be together in person, it's this year. What an amazing accomplishment we're celebrating tonight. 20 years of serving moms and babies in Tennessee. I hope you're applauding at home. For 20 years, NFN has been preventing infant mortality, child abuse, and neglect in Tennessee. Did you know a baby dies in Tennessee every 15 hours? About a quarter of our infant deaths are due to preventable sleep-related causes. But NFN is preventing infant mortality and helping babies reach their first birthday. Our nurses go into the homes of medically fragile infants, mothers with medical, mental health, and substance abuse concerns, and teen moms. We're teaching safe sleep practices, evaluating the health and wellness of mom and baby, and teaching positive parenting skills, just to name a few. On average, it takes $1,500 to $2,000 for us to serve a family. Our services are not based on socioeconomic status and are completely free. And on average, 98% of our babies have a medical home, ensuring they receive their well baby checkups and immunizations. 98% do not go to the ER unnecessarily and are therefore not exposed to more illnesses. 98% are not admitted to the hospital for a preventable cause, and 97% do not suffer a household injury. We are saving lives. Throughout the last 20 years, Nurses for Newborns has been a consistent source of support for Middle Tennessee's most vulnerable citizens. We have provided over 73,000 home visits to over 9,300 babies in these last 20 years. We may not be able to gather together as a large group tonight, but there is still a place for you to help because there is still work to be done. Thank you so much for being with us tonight.
Thanks, Amanda. Let's get a better idea of what this important work looks like. Tonight, we have the honor of hearing from one of our clients and their nurse, Nancy. Brianna is mom to 2-year-old Malaysia and Anaya, who is 9 months old. Now, because both of Brianna's babies were born preterm and had low birth weight, Nurses for Newborns has been providing important services and support to the family since March of 2019. Here is more of the family's incredible journey.
My first daughter, Malaysia, she is now 2 years old. She was born at 28 weeks.
And tiny.
Very tiny. First time mother, so it was depression, stressful. I really feel like I didn't have anybody at the time due to having a very premature baby. She was at NICU 2 months, 5 days. When she came home on oxygen. She was on the feeding tube for a while due to early birth. And then she was having complications. She was having sleeping spells to where she would stop breathing while she's sleeping. It was very scary because she was so tiny. It took her time to gain her weight as needed.
How soon did I start? How long had she been home when I started visiting you in the home? Not long.
maybe, I want to say maybe like a couple of weeks. Yeah, she was there every week. It was times to where I literally felt like giving up, and because I felt like I couldn't do it because she was a premature baby.
And when Brianna came home with Malaysia, you were living in a tiny one-room apartment, a little efficiency. You had a bed, you had a table and 2 chairs, and her bassinet.
Pack and play.
Pack and play.
Campers,
I brought you a pack and
toys,
play. Yeah, brought some
clothing.
Toys. And a little bitty refrigerator to try to keep up with
breastfeeding, well, pumping. I was pumping, and it was like my refrigerator, how small the refrigerator was, the freezer filled up like no time. So it's like, I don't want this to go too bad. Then I got some in the bottom of the refrigerator, and it's just filled all the way up. So it's like, we gotta go make a drop off, because in order for her to get where she needs to be, she has to have this milk.
I know one of the first visits that I had with you, I can't do this without crying. And I know you just got all teary as well. For one of the very first visits, you sat on the bed, and I was sitting in one of the chairs, and you looked at me and said, I can't do this. I cannot do this. And I said, we're going to do it. We're going to do it. We're going to get there. I'm going to come see you. You can call me anytime. We're going to get there. And we got there. Once you got moved out of there, it was a little bit easier. But trying to care for her in that little bitty one-room efficiency was so hard because there was no floor. There was no floor time.
When you feel like you don't have nobody, you always have a wonderful nurse. A wonderful nurse. You can call her anytime, any day, if you have any questions.
The last time I visited in the home before COVID restrictions, she was pregnant with Anaya, and today is my first time to meet Anaya. She's beautiful, and she's living in a 2-bedroom apartment that has a living room and a kitchen and a big refrigerator and a stove and an oven
and the sink.
And Malaysia has her own room. Biggest impact that Brianna has made for me as a nurse has been to watch a young woman go from limited resources, pretty much an island. She had a couple of friends from work, but she had to quit work. Malaysia could not go to childcare, and so I'm like, no, there is no childcare for Malaysia. It's you, because she had chronic lung issues, and there was she was such a tiny preemie and so low weight, and Brianna's eyes just being this large, going, I can't go back to work. No, you can't. What am I going to do? I don't know, but we're going to figure it out. And so we got it figured out. And she became comfortable being at home with Malaysia. She thought she would never really ever be a mom at home working with a child versus working professionally. And so to watch her grow over all of this time and become such a confident woman, but also such a confident mother, has just been incredible.
Thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Brianna. Nurses for Newborns is thrilled to have made your transition into motherhood as smooth as possible because, coming firsthand, it's really difficult. Next, because of Nurses for Newborns' 20th anniversary, we want to take a moment to honor some of the people who got us to where we are today. We have a photo tribute to the last 20 years, followed by a special performance by longtime friend of Nurses for Newborns. We want to introduce you to singer-songwriter Holly Williams.
For once in my life, I can see clearly there are no clouds in my eyes. So many times it's all been so near, and I watch as the moment goes by. And I'm holding on to you like a lifeline. I want to believe it this time. Look at me now and know that I need you, and I'm holding on for dear life. And maybe you'll save me. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And maybe I'll make it. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. I'm trying to explain, if only these voices would be silent just for a while. This feeling I get whenever I'm near you, I'm free, just like a child. And maybe you'll save me. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And maybe I'll make it. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. For once in my life, I can see clearly there are no clouds in my eyes. Look at me now, know that I need you, and I'm holding on for dear life. And maybe you'll save me. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. And maybe I'll make it. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. Maybe you'll save me. I'm alive, I'm alive. And maybe I'll make it. I'm alive, I'm alive, I'm alive. For once in my life, I can see clearly there are no clouds in my eyes.
Hey y'all, I'm Holly Williams, and I am such a huge supporter of Nurses for Newborns and everything they are doing for our community. Have loved and supported them for years, and just want to encourage y'all to help where you can and just keep supporting such an amazing cause. As a mom of 3 young children, what they're doing is literally changing lives for moms in need. So thank you guys for asking me to do this. Thank y'all for supporting them. And I'm going to sing a song called Waiting on June. This is the whole life story of my grandma and grandpa from a little town called Marouge, Louisiana. From my papa's shoes to my granny's. This is called Waiting on June. She was from North Louisiana in the town of Marouge. I fell in love in a week or two. It didn't take long to love a girl like that. We were barely 10 in the cotton fields, playing horseshoe with the colored kids. I tried to kiss her, she grabbed a baseball bat. Hey, I was waiting on June. I hope she comes to see me, waiting on June. I can't take this feeling, waiting on June. I pray to God she'll love me one of these days. I hope I find my way, waiting on June. Well, I went off in 42 to fight those boys and pay my dues. Her wallet picture kept my spirits high. Charlie boy died in my arms. He saw Jesus, I saw blood. It soaked her wallet picture that cold night. Well, I told my best friend Charlie I would kiss his girls goodbye. He made me promise I'd go home and make Miss June my wife. Shaking like a drunk old fool, I hopped off of that plane, and I ran home to ask her in the rain, waiting on June. I hope that she says yes, waiting on June. In her faded summer dress, waiting on June. Her daddy shook my hand, and she lit up the moment I pulled out that silver band, waiting on June. Well, we married at the Methodist church, found a big white cow and a piece of dirt with pecan trees to build our homestead on. Joel and Becky, then Donna, then Shelby. Our tiny house was a sanctuary, laughter filled those rooms all day long. Hey, we were waiting on June. She's putting on her makeup, waiting on June. She's trying to get her hair curled, waiting on June. Kids, they said to me, you walk on down to Sunday school, I'll be there in 15, waiting on June. Well, the time flew by like they said it would. Yeah, the kids grew fast and the farm did good. Miss Bertha made our supper every day. At noon that silver bell would ring, we'd all say grace and dig on in, and we always ate together in those days. Oh, one by one those kids went off and found a love their own. There's nothing like the joy I knew when they brought their babies home. We'd play all day in the cotton fields with the dogs I raised up right. And in Grandma's kitchen every night, waiting on June. Honey, don't burn the beacon, waiting on June. Our bellies are aching, waiting on June. She turns that fork so slow, and we all had to sit there till the last bite was no more, waiting on June. We were slower than we used to be. The nursing home told June and me that we'd have separate rooms, side by side. Oh, what I'd give for one more night of sleeping with my wife. Since 45, I've touched her skin in the middle of the night. So I'm lying in this single bed until they cut those lights. That's when she'll sneak in and I'll be fine, waiting on June, so we can kiss goodnight. I'm waiting on June. I'll hold her hand so tight. I'm waiting on June. I'll love her till I die. It's bittersweet when love grows old and you really miss your wife, waiting on June. Well, they buried me last Tuesday morn. The good Lord came, He took me home. I closed my eyes, I quickly went away. But the angels let me see her every day, waiting on June. Our mansion is so grand, waiting on June. Footprints in the sand, waiting on June. That's the story of my life, 'cause me and Jesus are standing here till she walks through that light, waiting on June. Hey, I'm still waiting on June. I'm always waiting on June. There's no more waiting on June.
Thank you for that incredible performance, Holly. We really appreciate it. And thank you to all of those shown and maybe not shown in the 20th anniversary tribute. You know who you are, and we could not have made it to 20 years without you. So again, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Now, if you've been a part of this organization, again, for over the last 20 years, from over 9,300 families served, a sincere thank you. Thank you for everything that you've done. Also, want to remind you, have you checked out the auction? So many good things that you can get a great deal on too. You have just a few hours left. And remember, you still got to purchase a raffle ticket. It's $50 ticket for a chance to win $2,500 in Disney gift cards. I mean, you really can't beat that, am I right? Next, it's my pleasure to introduce Gloria Morrison, Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee's Nursing Director. Gloria.
I decided several months ago that the year 2020 would be the year of creativity. Last year, our event began on the cusp of a year that we could never have imagined, but we got creative. To protect the families we serve and our staff, we quickly moved to virtual visits. Our nurses had a crash course on virtual interaction that included everything from Zoom, Facebook, and beyond. And they got creative. We learned how to engage families from afar, how to enter their living rooms through their phones, how to ask new questions in new ways to find out their needs and provide the education and support that became more important than ever. We got creative. We found more food pantries, more mental health providers, and more resources to support families who didn't know where to turn. We got creative and began porch drops for needed items and started a scale loan program so we could still closely monitor our most fragile infants. We got creative and learned more about self-care, connection, and how to work together while apart. By conducting virtual visits, we cut down on the time spent traveling, and we were able to see more clients virtually than we could have in person, serving more families during this difficult time. The year 2021 still requires us to be creative, but our CEO recently pointed out 2021 is about resiliency. Resiliency takes adversity and turns it into strength and resolve. Through our creativity, we were able to still maintain our outcomes at the high level we always have. Our babies have avoided going to the ER, being hospitalized, and having dedicated primary care providers. During a time of uncertain healthcare risks, we were able to ensure our clients saw their doctors when needed, but not unnecessarily exposing them to COVID-19 or other illnesses when they did not. In 2020, we became more resilient, stronger, and resolved to continue to help Middle Tennessee babies and their families. And in 2021, we're resolved to return to the living rooms and the kitchens of the families we serve. We continue to be creative and are working on safe and effective ways for us to go back into the homes of our clients. Through the help of vaccines, PPE, and important protocols, we plan to return to in-person visits as soon as it is deemed safe for us to do so. Because of our creativity, we now know there are many ways to reach our families, and we will continue to use all means available for us to further engage and build relationship with those we serve. Yet we long to hold a baby. listen to their heartbeat, celebrate their growth with their caregiver, and we're excited to finally see that on the horizon. NF and its families are resilient. We didn't just endure 2020, we thrived. We look forward to sitting with our families again, continuing our relationship with them and fostering resiliency in us all. I ask you to join us in 2021 and increase your own resiliency and help us to do the same for the babies in our community. Your donation, no matter the size, helps our nurses help babies. What an amazing way to make 2021 better and brighter for us all. Please donate on the event website or text Celebrate 20 to 44321 now. Thank you.
Gloria, thank you so much. And I should mention, Gloria visited me as well just a few years ago when I had my own newborn and needed help. Coming up, we have a special performance from Zach Ray. Zach is a Nashville-based singer-songwriter, and he's new to Nurses for Newborns, and we are so excited to introduce you to him tonight. So we'll hear from his music and talents just a little bit later. But before we get to that, we're going to hear another special family. We're going to hear from them, Brett and Megan, along with their daughter Reagan and Nurses for Newborns nurse Carrie Anna. Reagan's incredible story began 14 months ago when she was born, get this, 16 weeks early, and of course after a very long stay in the NICU, was finally able to go home in the midst of the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's their heartwarming story.
You see comedies and you see the water breaking and you see the pool of water coming out and you're like, that's not what it's really like.
Like a mop bucket.
Yeah, that's what happened. It happened.
Maybe not quite.
It happened. Doctor came in about 20 minutes later after he'd gotten there and said that we had premature rupture of the membrane proms at 19 weeks. And that basically the next steps were to be admitted, because typically after that follows preterm labor. I don't know, a million emotions. We went from hearing about a perfect pregnancy to we could be losing our baby, because at 19 weeks we also knew and understood at that point that viability was not an option.
That baby shows up, but there's not a heck of a lot they can do. And
on December 2nd, we're watching a movie and we have another scary incident where
because it was getting boring. We needed needed a
That's exactly right. We had to have another curveball thrown at us. So I run to the restroom. I had felt like I potentially could be miscarrying at that point, knowing we were 3 days out from getting back to the hospital and viability. I'm like, this can't be happening. Hop in the car, drive to the hospital, go back to the triage. Again, no dilation, no contractions, heartbeat. They send us home. We're going, what is going on?
Like, what do we got to do to get admitted to this place?
So, long and short, we check in on December 5th.
We moved in, y'all.
Christmas lights.
We were like, all right, so we're going to be here.
Keurig machine.
Optimists. We're going to be here till March. We're going to move into this place.
Meanwhile, I am sitting there talking to my girlfriend who was there, and I run to the restroom really quick, and I feel a foreign object. I asked her to grab the nurse. The nurse comes in and she puts her hands on my knees and looks up at me and says,
Gabby.
Nurse Gabby, and she says, this is an emergency. You're having your baby today. That's your baby's umbilical cord. I need you on the hospital bed right now. At that moment, a million things obviously run through your head, because you're bringing a child into the world that day, but you don't know if you're celebrating life or if you're,
We're celebrating that right there.
So she proceeded to spend the next 109 days
109
in the NICU. We really didn't have a lot of setbacks. We were very blessed. She was slow and steady to get home to us. She was running for mayor by this point. The NICU, at that point, he and I wanted to embrace and take in any resource that was available to us. We brought her home on oxygen, basically was her only discharge medical thing. And
she loves it, can't you tell?
We got connected with Nurses for Newborns and Miss Carrie Anna, and she has been such a joy to work with. And she has been, Carrie Anna, you've also been very much a a good support system for me in a lot of ways, and I very much appreciate that. And my first time meeting her face to face today.
Oh my God.
Everything's been through FaceTime.
I spent 30 years as a labor and delivery nurse, a high-risk obstetrical nurse. So many times I wanted to follow the patients home. So this is that opportunity. I love the fact that this is a service that's free to the families. And I just love the mission. And it's really all about relationship and connection, and that makes the difference. Every family is different. They all have different needs, and I love being able to just work with them and figure out, how do we work this for you?
Well, I think your experience and just a voice of reason, kind of level setting, and if I am going through some different things, I'm getting hit with a lot of different updates and medical information, and I think Carrie-Ann has been a good resource for me to kind of digest that, make it manageable for me, and add some elementary terms, if you will. It's definitely a breath of fresh air to hear somebody say, Megan, she's done this. And you're like, okay, you're right. She has come that far.
Just the story of Reagan's survival and the way she's thrived is an absolute miracle. And I've just loved watching her grow and change and meeting those milestones and being able just to process with Megan about different things, whether it's feedings or,
we have feeding problems, right?
assessments, cardiac things, just all of it. They're phenomenal. They're engaged. They're educated. They just really needed just a person in their corner just to say, hey, it's okay. Look at her. She's thriving. It's all been
new
over FaceTime, and I kept saying, I think in a couple of weeks I'll be able to come and see you in person, and here we are almost a year later.
Yeah.
So it just has reiterated that connections are important, and even though Nurses for Newborns has had to change their model of how we provide the service, it can still be effective.
Agreed. Because just to have a periodic check-in and just to know they're on the right track, or to get hints or tips on something, it's a resource that there's so much riches to it. And I would say definitely, if you're a family that has the opportunity to embrace it, for sure.
Hey y'all, my name is Zach Ray. Such an honor to be joining you all tonight and getting the chance to play a song for you. A shout out to Nurses for Newborns and the work that y'all put in and day out. This is a song I wrote. It's called I Pray, and it goes like this. I pray for the losers who's just trying to win. And I pray for the winners too, 'cause I know we both have been. I pray for the wanderer who's not sure where to go. And I pray for the broken hearted, 'cause it hurts to feel that low. Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes it's a shout, sometimes I'm laughing, and sometimes I'm crying out. Sometimes I raise my hands, sometimes I fall on my knees. Even when he don't answer, I still know he's listening to me. And so I pray. I pray for the lonely, just trying to find them a home. I pray for those who act like they got it all together when they don't. Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes I pray for an answer to the things I don't understand. Asking God how He could let this happen. Is this really all a part of your plan? Sometimes it's a whisper, sometimes it's a shout, sometimes I'm laughing, sometimes I'm crying out, sometimes I raise my hands, sometimes I fall on my knees. Even when He don't answer, still know He's listening to me. He's listening to me. So I pray.
Thank you so much, Zach. Hey, don't forget about the auction. It's open until 10 o'clock tonight, and we've got a lot of awesome things on it. Night for Newborns would not be successful if not for the generous support of all of our sponsors. So we do want to thank Diamond sponsors, Cooper Steel, the Children's Hospital at TriStar Centennial, Reltio, Tennessee Maternal Fetal Medicine, and Williamson Medical Center for their continued partnership with Nurses for Newborns. Also, thank you as well to all of our other sponsors who are listed on our event website, particularly our platinum sponsors, CAT Financial, Grace Pediatrics, LBMC, and Monroe Carroll Jr. Children's Hospital at Vanderbilt. Now, let's get back to Amanda.
Yes, thank you to all our sponsors for supporting Nurses for Newborns in such a big way. I'd also like to acknowledge the NFN team for their dedication and hard work in fulfilling NFN's mission, including our Tennessee staff, our nurses and program staff led by our nursing director, Gloria Morrison, our development staff, Matt Robertson and Liz Atkinson, especially for producing this wonderful event tonight, our colleagues and teammates in Missouri, our Tennessee ambassadors, advisory board, and our Missouri governing board, and all the past members of the Nurses for Newborns team who have gotten us to where we are today. Thank you all for giving so much of yourselves to serving this community. So tonight you've heard from two families whose lives were improved and forever changed by Nurses for Newborns. Keep in mind that NFN can serve a baby for as little as $1,500 to $2,000, and we do that at no cost to our clients thanks to the generosity of our donors. So if you haven't already, will you please make a donation right now? Throughout the year, Nurses for Newborns is there for families when they need us the most. Night for Newborns typically raises $100,000 to support that work. Can you help us get there? Will you make a donation right now? Go to the Donate tab at the top of the event page or text CELEBRATE20 to 44321 to make a donation. Thank you so much for your generous support. So as many of you know, I have decided it's time to step down from my role as Executive Director of Nurses for Newborns. I couldn't be more proud to have been a part of this amazing team and all the wonderful work we've done together over the last 6 years. I'm grateful to have had the honor of leading NFN on part of its journey, and I will forever remain an enthusiastic supporter of this tremendous organization. As many of you also know, NFN has the honor of welcoming a familiar face to the role of Executive Director. Matt Robertson has been with NFN for 3 years, serving as the Development Coordinator, the Development Director, and now our next Executive Director. I almost didn't hire Matt 3 years ago because I felt he was so terribly overqualified for the first role he took at NFN. But his passion and enthusiasm for our mission won me over, and now I know why he was meant to be here. He's going to lead Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee into its 3rd decade of service. I asked Matt to introduce himself to you guys by sharing his family story and his deep passion for NFN's work. So for our last story tonight, we're going to hear from Matt and his wife, Shannon.
It was a crazy day from what we remember. We had gone in for just a normal checkup for Shannon, you know, and had gone to get, like, I think it was the last scan, like the
ultrasound.
last ultrasound, and everything to make sure she was growing correctly and all that kind of stuff. And they came in after the scan, and doctor had concern on her face, and she said, well, we're going to ask you to go over to the hospital, which was right next door, and admit yourself to have some tests done. Maybe 20 minutes later came back and said, well, it looks like we're going to have a birthday today. I think like her doctor's appointment was at 3:30, and Emma was born at 6:37.
Yeah, 6:37.
6:37. So it was that quick that everything happened. We had to take Shannon into the NICU. It was like close to midnight after Emma was born, but before she started her treatment, because she wouldn't be able to be in there during that time. And so we wheeled Shannon down through the NICU.
In that huge hospital bed.
Yeah, in the huge hospital bed. Yes. And so she was able to see her for a few minutes before.
Yeah. Emma had to stay in the NICU 20 days. I had to stay in the hospital just due to my high blood pressure for 10 days. And you hear people say it's really hard to leave your baby in the NICU, but you don't experience like how hard that really is until your sweet one is there and you're leaving. But we walked through feeding tubes and all the monitors, and so when you bring her home and you don't have all those monitors that are letting you know all the things that the nurses have taught you, it's a little nerve-wracking.
When you can hold your baby in your hands like that, you know, you feel, like I said, it was very exciting to go home, but at the same time you feel very protective and unprepared, you know.
At the hospital, we had a nurse that we knew who worked for Nurses for Newborns that had just told us about what she did, but had no idea that it would impact us in any way, shape, or form. And so in the hospital, we did get connected with her being so tiny and her birth weight and wanting to make sure that she was thriving and growing. We were able to talk to our nurse that ended up being our nurse, and which was unbelievable. For me, I went home on 5 blood pressure medicines, and you know, so myself, my own health, I think, was a little bit at risk at the time. And so to know that and trying to take care of a baby, and you know, being new parents, even though we were older parents, being brand new parents, and with this teeny tiny baby that we had scrubbed our hands raw in the NICU, to be able to just hold her, to then go, she's in our home. And so the nurse was unbelievable, Nurse Jennifer, just being able to come in every week, assess Emma, and not allow her to have to be exposed to so many germs at the time. She was able to, you know, check her weight, measure her, check in on me, give all that to our doctor, so that our doctor, we didn't have to go in for every checkup that a typical baby would have to go to. She did weekly visits probably up to 10 months. And then at 10 months, she did, the last few visits, she just did a month at a time. We could have had her come up to 2 years, but really at that point, she was thriving. Emma was thriving. She was literally able every week to say, you know what, she hasn't grown enough this week, so we're going to supplement with this type of formula with what you're giving her. Or, you know, she's grown really well this week, so what did you do? She's thriving. How did you make that happen? And just to be able to give that insight literally to the ounce, because in the NICU, you're measuring every ounce as a celebration.
And now is my honor and pleasure to introduce you to Nurses for Newborns' next Executive Director, Matt Robertson. Matt, passing it to you.
Thank you, Amanda. I am humbled and honored to continue my journey with Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee as the next Executive Director. I know I have big shoes to fill, but I couldn't have asked for a more amazingly capable example of what it means to be a leader in our nonprofit community. You have given your all to make Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee better than ever, while helping to make our impact on the future in Middle Tennessee even brighter. Thank you for your countless hours of dedication to our program, to our staff, to our advisory board, ambassadors, and so many babies and families in our community. There was work to do, and you did it. So as my first official act as the soon-to-be Executive Director of Nurses for Newborns of Tennessee, but more importantly, as part of a staff that is grateful for your 6 years of leadership, your continuous encouragement, and who admire you for how you moved our organization to this point, it is with great pleasure that I and the NFN staff award you with this year's Miller Award. And just so everyone knows, this is a complete surprise to Amanda, and I'm sure you agree that it is so well deserved. Thank you, Amanda, for going above and beyond in regard to NFN's values of respect, stewardship, justice, integrity, and excellence for our organization and the babies and families we serve. Now, as we turn to the next decade, it's up to you, our supporters and donors, to make sure we continue to have the means to make a difference in the lives of even more babies and families. We're so grateful for the many generous partners over the past 20 years. And as we move forward, we know that you will continue to stand by our side because there is still work to be done. Our staff is ready. We're moving into our new office home and look forward to extending an invitation soon for you to visit. If you need us, we'll be in East Nashville at 1606 Porter Road. Our office number continues to be the same, and very soon we'll be rolling out our new website. Please visit us online at nursesfornewborns.org/Tennessee. Thank you for being here tonight, but more importantly, thank you for being with us in the past and in the days ahead.
Your support matters, so we want to thank you for taking the time to donate and support these life-saving visits through Nurses for Newborns. We know this is a very bittersweet transition, so thank you so much to Amanda. It's been wonderful working with you over the last few years, and of course, we are excited for Matt too. So we appreciate everything that you have done and being here with us tonight. Nurses for Newborns would love for you to get involved beyond this evening, and you have a lot of opportunities to do so. So it does not end tonight, even though we're so glad that you're here with us. You can volunteer in the office. As you heard from Amanda and Matt, we do have a new office space. You can even serve on a committee, which would be awesome to get involved in your local community. You can join the advisory board or maybe donate gently used pack and plays and other baby items. I had so much left over, so I certainly did that. And Nurses for Newborns really appreciates those donations as well. Of course, don't forget to follow on social media. You can even sign up for Nurses for Newborns and its newsletter. You can become a monthly donor, and you can find out all about how you can help and be involved, whether it's giving items or funds at the website nursesfornewborns.org/Tennessee. So a lot of important information there. I want to remind you one last time, the auction closes at 10 Central Standard Time tonight, so get those generous bids in now. If you haven't done so already, just make sure you scan through all of those items that you maybe want to get or bid on. You've got, again, till 10 o'clock. You can take the time to donate online at the top of this page. Again, that's the Night for Newborns event website, or you can text Celebrate 20 to 44321. Again, Celebrate 20. You can text it to 44321. Thank you so much for joining us tonight and for supporting the work of Nurses for Newborns. Have a fantastic night.